I am done with this superhero deconstruction crap. I'm over it. I'm tired of it. It's been done to death. There, I said it. No attempt to try and make an interesting intro or leeway into it. No trying to be funny or funny voices or any of that. Just plain and simple. I'm done with the superhero deconstruction stuff. It's gone on for far too long. Everyone thinks they're so clever trying to deconstruct the superhero genre, deconstruct the comic book, try to set it as if it was real. It's been done to death. It's done. Get over it. The Boys is fantastic. And Invincible is fantastic. And these shows are so good. You know, it's what if superheroes are real? And it's this evil version of Superman. And superheroes are not the great people that you think they are. And you know, maybe the villains aren't so bad either. I don't care. I just don't care. It's been done to death. Like I said, it doesn't mean that there aren't some good stuff and that some things are done well. But I just don't see what's so great about it anymore. So, yeah. People doing superhero deconstruction, I'm over it. So that intro happened. I know that's not my typical introduction. I usually try to have a little bit of fun, maybe tell a really bad joke or try to make somebody think at the beginning, even though they know what the subject of the video is by reading the title. Or maybe do some funny voices, you know. But the truth is, this is a subject that has just been bothering me a lot recently. It's a topic that I've been thinking about for a long time. Been trying to figure out what it is that I just don't like. You know, that's not to say that there aren't good shows in this vein. You know, like I mentioned, The Boys is well put together. It's well acted. It's well made. You know, the same with Invincible. But I'm just so sick of shows like that. I'm tired of questioning who our heroes are. A more recent one that I've started watching, or I should say I finished the first season, Loser Rangers, and anime. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit different because it's making fun of Super Sentai and that stuff, but it's the same thing. Our heroes are jerks, and they shouldn't be praised. I don't mind things going a little bit darker. You know, I don't mind trying to do some real world-esque type stuff. You know, sometimes it can be done well. I mean, you got The Dark Knight as a classic example. And honestly, I think Marvel overall does a good job of it too. I think they combine the fantastical with realistic type feelings, you know. But then again, that's just me loving Marvel stuff, preferably. But like I said, simply put, I'm tired of all this. I'm tired of feeling like it's wrong to like superheroes. It's wrong to admire them in a way. Now, granted, yes, they're not real, so you can't really say, here's my idol, here's, you know, here in real life is somebody that is a superhero. I get that. But that doesn't mean that we can't wish to be them, or at least to stand up to their ideals, to be what they present. You know, for me, two examples, obviously Spider-Man. It's my favorite comic book character. It's like my favorite character, period. And then, of course, there's Captain America. You know, the star-spangled man with a plan, as they say. You know, loyalty, a hard firm belief in doing what's right, defending the underdog, the little guy, regardless of what happens. These are things that should be admired. Superman, truth, justice, and the American way. Though, who knows what the American way is anymore. Maybe not necessarily one people want to follow, but anyway, that's not what we're here. But oh no, we can't do that. We need to look at things more cynically. We have to consider all sides of this. Okay, sure. Just don't overdo it. Don't make me tired of it. It feels like to me that everyone's trying to go darker. Or they're trying to do more against the grain. Because they want to have that thing. They want to be remembered for doing the best version of this. There's already been great versions. We don't need any more. You're not reinventing the wheel. It doesn't make comics better. It doesn't necessarily make the movies better. A dark, gritty movie can be just as good or just as bad as a campy, colorful, comedic action superhero film. With colorful guys and gals in tights. I have to ask myself, why have we gone in this direction? And I hate to say it, and maybe it's not entirely this, but it does feel like maybe it's partly the critics, because comic book movies are only now starting to be taken more seriously by critics. I mean, Black Panther was one of the big ones that was really praised by critics. You had Joker got Best Actor when that movie came out. The first one, not this new one that came out. Or maybe it's just the general audiences. Maybe, I'm just going to say maybe they were trying to get people like my dad or my mom to come see these movies, and they thought the only way that would work is if they did something darker that could be taken seriously. Though I'll be honest. My mom isn't going to watch this stuff. She's not into it. My dad, yeah, he's watched it. But only because I've told him to, or he's watching it with me. So, I feel like when it comes to that, maybe they were just trying too hard. Maybe they wanted to show that comics should be taken seriously. Guess what? I took comics seriously from day one. From my first comic book, I took them seriously. I knew you could tell different stories. I had fun with them. They were light and just enjoyable. And especially like even nowadays, I feel like now more than ever, we need this world that is just colorful and exciting, and you know who the bad guys are, and you know who the good guys are, they're always going to win. The good guys are always going to win. It's one of these things that it's one of these things that I just have to say, I love being a nerd. 10 points if you get a reference that I was parroting there. Excuse me. I mean, I think the big thing also is the whole evil Superman thing. Done to death. It was fine the first time it happened, when you had Ultraman, in the DC universe, or when you got even Injustice, which my buddy Cletus has said, or he thinks that it was Injustice that kind of really got the ball rolling on this whole evil Superman type of character. And it's also in these universes, everyone has to be a dick. There's no truly nice people because humanity sucks. People with power suck. They can't be trusted. Say about that what you will, Again, a lot of this can be taken into context in our everyday life, can be taken into context with what's going on, but I'm trying really hard not to even talk about that because this is about comic books. This is about superhero. This is about fantasy, about just fun and getting out of the real world, getting absorbed in a world that we can just enjoy, where you don't really have to worry about your problems too much, at least for however long it takes to read a comic book or watch a comic book film, and just have fun and nerd out and meet people and goof off. And I mean, I love going to conventions. I love seeing the people that made these things. I love meeting people that I heard in my childhood. There's nothing wrong with just enjoying something fun. It doesn't have to be dark. Again, those stories can be good, but we're overdoing it here, people. We don't need so much of it. Like I said, superheroes, they're supposed to be fun. They're supposed to be inspiring, while maybe having a glimpse of darkness. Because we all have that dark side. We all have some darkness within us. And maybe some of them do tend to lean a little bit more to that side, whether you're talking about Batman. But even Batman has fun elements. You got the different Robins, you've got Batgirl, and you've got there's too many to think anymore. And I mean, then you got other characters like Spawn, who is really, really dark, but it's a different type of dark. It's a supernatural darkness, and I feel like that's different. That's different than what I'm talking about. It's different than superheroes being deconstructed, because as far as I know, Spawn wasn't really trying to deconstruct anything. It was just another type of character, another comic book that McFarlane wanted to write, and all that. Again, I don't know for sure. I'm not a huge Spawn fan. I'm not really into that character and that lore, so there's probably something that I don't know that says differently. If so, leave a comment, or I just apologize. I don't know everything about it. I mentioned realism earlier, and yeah, there's just too much of it in these films, in these TV shows. But wait, again, superheroes aren't real. How can it be realistic? It's realistic in the sense that this is probably how they would behave if they were in real life. I mean, all you have to do is look at Marvel, look at DC. You don't mean to tell me that if superheroes weren't real, that somebody would try to capitalize on it and make a lot of money off it? You got the boys. There, you got Bot. Or you don't mean to tell me that the government would try to control it and terrible things would happen to people in everyday life? Yeah, probably would. But there's Invincible. If there was a Superman, would he want to take over? Would he be not able to be a good guy? You got Homelander and you got the Injustice Superman. Yes, these are stories that on a certain level we need to hear, and it's important to remember, but the market is being oversaturated with it, that I feel like I'm not getting what I love about comics. There's so much I'm missing. And maybe it is the kid in me or the child in me, but I like certain things that are campy. I like certain things that don't revolve necessarily around story. I like things that maybe don't revolve around character all the time. Don't make me feel like crap after watching it. Don't make me feel like, why do I like these things? And don't get me wrong, that stuff is great. If you can tell me a great story with great characters, I'm all for it. I love that. But I miss the fun. I miss the colorfulness, the absurdity of some of these character stuff. The absurdity of the way the costumes look, the absurdity of the powers at times. Heck, to be honest, I miss the absurdity of some of the names. Like the first one that always comes to my mind is when Marvel created Menace, and the title of it was The Menace of Menace. I'm like, well, that's a really original name, and that's an original title. But to be honest, I miss things like that. You know, the big thing for me is I miss the campy villain costumes. I think that's the thing I miss the most. I mean, I kind of do miss seeing the green and yellow Electro costume, you know, something. I miss seeing things like Mysterio's fishbowl, but I'm glad they did that. I'm just gonna say I love that they did that in Far From Home. That is one of the best things. I'm so happy they did that with the film, because they easily could have said, nope, looks stupid, we're not doing it. And in the art book, they do show other versions where it's just like smoke or whatever. But with Mysterio being one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Spider-Man villain, I love that they kept the fishbowl. Does it make sense? No, not really. I mean, they made it work. But honestly, I mean, you read the comics, it doesn't really make sense. You know, some great examples for me. I love the craziness of Deadpool and Wolverine, which I know I'm not the only one because it made over $1 billion. I saw that thing 5 times. You know, maybe we could have used a little less multiverse. Yeah, maybe I'm in that camp too, but I love the multiverse stuff. You know, I love just the insanity of it. That people are like, oh, but there's a plot hole and there's a plot hole. I don't care. I had fun. Deadpool's costume was great. The yellow costume for Wolverine with the mask was fantastic. Seeing Channing Tatum as Gambit was great. Okay, maybe I should have said spoilers if you haven't seen the movie, which if you haven't at this point and you haven't seen any of this stuff, then you really don't care about it, as far as I'm concerned. You know, seeing Johnny Storm again, Chris Evans as Johnny Storm, was great. I loved it. I mean, to the point that Deadpool and Wolverine is going to be my favorite movie of the year. Is it the best made film? No. Is it probably the best story told? No. Best performances? Well, I'd say yes. But probably not by most people's standards. But I've had the most fun in that film, and I saw it the most times, so as far as I'm concerned, it's my favorite film. There's another spoiler for that list, assuming I get to it this year. I mean, Endgame. Oh, Endgame is just so fun. Another $1 billion film. $2 billion film, whatever. All the characters together, the costumes, the powers, the insanity of it. Thanos, I mean, it's just, and yet it still had heart. For me, the biggest thing was losing Natasha. That was a big moment for me. Bigger than Tony as far as I was concerned. But you had those serious moments. But the movie is still epic and it's great. Big one for me. Marvel 90s cartoons. Pinnacle of Marvel animation. Pinnacle of Marvel storytelling when it came to those characters as far as I am concerned. Like I said, Spider-Man from the 90s, best, probably my favorite animated show ever. I'll be hard to press to find anything else. They got comic books. You had the strange costumes, but they had heart. They told important stories, but they had the powers. They had the costumes. It was insane. Things didn't always make sense, but it was fun. And like I started to say, these things can be thought-provoking. It doesn't have to be dark and serious to not provoke some thought, to get people thinking. X-Men 97 just did that. Brought back the original show, had all the costumes, had some of the original cast returning, some of them in different parts, but it touched on really dark subject matter. But it was still a lot of fun. And it looked great. It had tons of great Easter eggs. You know, what I want to see, what I want to really see, and maybe this was why I enjoyed stuff like Quantumania, because I just had fun with it. Even the Marvels wasn't bad as far as I was concerned. Again, because it was fun. I love colorful costumes. I want to get our characters in their costumes. I mean, that's just, it's Most people will think it's dumb, but that's one of the things I cannot wait for people to get in their costumes already. Power beatdown. Really unleashing powers and seeing them, Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange going at it with the magic. Or, Avengers really bashing in the Chitauri, and, Thor bringing the thunder, or Cap's shield, or Iron Man blasting, Hulk smashing. The characters and the arcs you can do. They don't all have to be serious, but you can still create good stories. And like I said, it's escapism too. It's getting a chance to just escape from the everyday mundane, the everyday problems. It just allows us to forget things for a little bit. I feel like, yeah, you might think, oh, geez, he's been on this trend long enough, or this video is getting longer than it probably should. Clearly, he said the same thing a lot of times. But I think that we've been on this specific trend of darker superhero films, realistic things, evil superheroes. We've done it far too long. And trust me, it takes a lot for me to say that about anything. Because I just want to enjoy myself. I say that a lot on this channel, but it's true. But it's time, I think, to get back to the roots. It's time to remember why we loved superheroes. Why, as fans, we created these universes. We created these huge fandoms. Granted, we didn't come up with the characters. We didn't write the movies, and we didn't write the shows. But if it wasn't for people reading the comics back in the day and showing the love and the comic book sales and going out to these movies, they wouldn't have taken off like they did. It's time to remember, I think, why we love superheroes and where they started. There's a quote that keeps coming to my mind. I remember this quote from a Facebook thing, and it's just stuck with me. Somebody wrote, Marvel is for kids, DC is for adults. They were talking about the movies. And I had only one thing to say. Screw you. You are so full of it. If liking and enjoying the Marvel movies makes me a kid, then fine. I'm 100% a kid, and I'm so happy to be one. Because I just want to embrace the quirkiness, the fun, the insanity. You don't have to be an adult to enjoy Marvel stuff, to enjoy the fun aspect. Brings out your inner child. You don't necessarily have to be adult to like the darker stuff. There's plenty of kids I know that have gone to these darker films and have loved it. Heck, I think some of them, I was young when I went to them. One that sticks out in my head is Batman Returns. I remember not being able to watch half that film because it was considered too gross or too insane for me. It just wasn't for a kid my age, apparently. But trying to wrap this up, I'm glad to see that the world and these fandoms is starting to embrace comic book roots again. Like I mentioned, X-Men 97. It appears we're getting the same thing with the new Superman. Hopefully we get it with Fantastic Four. I think we got it with Agatha all along, and the first two Venom films, specifically. Like I mentioned, Spider-Man Far From Home. Again, with the fishbowl. Spider-Man No Way Home. How big was that? The Spider-Verse films. It seems like maybe we're starting to turn back towards that a little bit. But only time will tell. being honest, if I'm thinking about it, as far as a comic guy goes for me, I'm more of the original type of comics. The ones I love the Stan Lee era, his original runs with Ditko and Romita, all the way up to, I'm going to say, the start of the 2000s. I mean, I still read comics after that, and they weren't all bad. They were enjoyable because I liked the character. But if I'm being honest, yeah, they probably started to go downhill then. Too many things they were trying to add. But if I could sum everything up in one, well, let's say 2 sentences. I'm over darker tone, gritty, realistic, heroes are bad, trying to reinvent that wheel type of show, movie, what have you. And I want the lighthearted side back. Okay, that was more than 2 sentences. I want to mention I really like the Harley Quinn movie, the Birds of Prey and the Emancipation of One Harley Quinn, whatever. I like that because it's goofy and it's funny. It doesn't take itself seriously, and I enjoy it. So to sum everything up, again, to try and sum everything up, some of what we're getting is good, but I really think less would be better. But I want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And what are your thoughts? How do you feel about where we're going with these types of superhero movies and TV shows? Do you love the stuff and just think, nope, you're wrong, we need more of the dark stuff, we're not into the campiness? Or are you like me, like, no, I do want some of the old stuff back? Whatever your thoughts, don't forget to leave them down below and hit that like button and subscribe. And remember, we're all fans here. And remember, read what you love, enjoy what you love, no matter what other people tell you. And I'll see you next time.